a different angle, just wipe it off and change it. Okay. Sorry, I got a sick kid at home.
I'll block you or anything. Okay.
That's always fun. I'm like, don't let her puke on the carpet. He's like, yeah, bucket, that's a good idea. It's like, no shit. So these are easier if you guys use these standoff pads. I don't know if you guys have ever used these before yet. For these eggs, you're going to have an easier time with the standoff pads. The only problem is they can get a little slippery. If you don't use a standoff pad, you have to apply a lot more pressure on these eggs. So it's just kind of whatever you guys are comfortable with, do what you want to do, okay? I don't like to sit. I hate sitting to scan, but it's okay, I'll do it so you guys can see. Okay, so put the probe and the transducer on OB. So you just do transducer, OB general, push that. That's gonna get you in the setting that you want, okay? So see how I have to kind of press really hard? We're gonna have to turn up our gain here a little bit. Sector. Wide scan. Okay. So, see this here? This is our placenta on our baby here. We can follow it all the way down here. We have a boy. Oh wait, I lied. This is our placenta. This looked like it, sorry, but this is just part of the actual egg. Right down here, so this is our placenta. Can you guys see how it looks like a little kind of like soft pillow?
Mm-hmm.
We can see both edges. We see an edge here. We see an edge here. We can scan through our little placenta here.
Does this one have a cord or no?
So it does have an umbilical cord. You can see the umbilical cord. However, you're not going to get any blood flow through the umbilical cord. So you will take images with it just to show like, hey, I know that when I'm looking for the umbilical cord insertion, I'm supposed to use color. And so I'm using color and I can see that the umbilical cord insertion is coming in right here. You're just pretending.
Can we say the placenta on the posterior wall of the uterus, or it's not true?
I'm sorry?
Is it on the placenta on the posterior wall?
Yes, the placenta is a posterior placenta.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So we're gonna come down. This is so difficult. Trying to find our cervix.
I don't know if there is one of these models.
Is there not? So if we want to like make a cervix picture, pretend like we're doing a cervix picture, maybe we just come all the way down like at the base of it and just pretend like our cervix is somewhere in here. These models are kind of pooey because they don't have everything, but it has some things.
That would be a low light placenta.
Well, no, not necessarily, because we don't really know where the cervix is. I mean, the cervix could be over here somewhere. It doesn't have a cervix. So for environment, we would take a sagittal image. We would just say sag placenta. Usually when I take an image, I'll take an image and really see the posterior edge, and then I'll kind of come up, scanning through, looking through the whole time, and then look at the other edge up here. Okay, so we're documenting the edges to show. Then I would go in transverse and I would do another picture here and then another picture here. See the umbilical cord?
And
What was the name of that shelf?
A circumvallate placenta.
Circumvallate.
So for environment, we're just documenting the placenta. We would take a picture out into the adnexa space. We have the left adnexa or the right adnexa. We'd come over, we would take the left adnexa, and then we would put our color box on and we would measure our fluid. We would always use color because we want to make sure we don't have cord in there or fetal parts. And you would come up and measure deepest pocket of fluid somewhere, maybe right in here. Freeze. You would do calipers and just measure our fluid. 6.3 centimeters, we're good to go. It's not poly.
Yeah, you measure those straight up and down, right? No angle.
Correct. You want to measure, when you measure anything like fluid, you're going to be, I always do it in transverse. And you want to measure straight up and down when you're measuring the fluid. You want to turn your gain down so you can see nice anechoic space. And so when you're going to measure fluid, you don't want to measure like this. Never measure like this. You always want to measure straight up and down at the deepest pot, like deepest pocket. Okay, guys?
Oh, so there can be fetal parts like in your image, just not where
It's
you're
not through the
measuring.
imaginary line.
Yeah, the line.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So environment's easy. I mean, it's not a lot to document. We're just documenting the placenta. We're taking sagittal placenta. We're doing transverse placenta. We want to put the color on and pretend like we see where the umbilical cord is inserting. It's like at this place right here where it kind of like humps up. That's the umbilical cord insertion. So you would take it in sagittal, you would move in transverse, and take it in transverse as well. The thing with these standoff pads is you have to still push so hard that they break and kind of disintegrate pretty quickly. But you just have to use what we got. There's a little baby. Yep, and it's a boy. We go between his legs. That's a boy. That's a little bladder. Anywho, I'll be around. You guys, there's several eggs. I think maybe only 3. So take turns, practice. This is just environment. It's not a lot to go off. I'll pull up the protocol list so you guys can look at it.
Breanne, how many placenta images do you guys usually take? Because some people go overboard. Do you
Yeah.
do 1 in sagittal?
I do 2 in sagittal, 2 in transverse, because I do the picture of like the edge and the cervix, and then I do the other edge picture. All the while I'm still scanning through it to make sure there's no like anomalies in there or anything hairy or scary in there, but we're just taking 2 representative issues or pictures in sagittal and 2 representative pictures in transverse. We're showing the location of the placental edge to the cervix, and then we're showing the other location of the other placental edge.
And those 2 images are separate from the cord insertion images.
Correct. So then you go back and you take a sagittal cord insertion, and then you do a transverse cord insertion. You always do in sagittal and transverse because you want to make sure that it's nice and central, or if you're ruling out like marginal cord, you want to take a sagittal and transverse and measure to the placental edge.
And do you do color in sag and transverse for cord insert?
Yep, you use color for cord insertion every time so you can see that nice cord. You want to see that nice like root where the cord implants, and they'll have like 2 little branches to like root itself onto the placenta. And then you always just I always take a representative transverse right adnexa, transverse left adnexa. You sweep through it, take 1 representative image. You're obviously looking for anything in there. If you see a cyst or anything like that, then you would document it. But if you don't, then you just take a representative image, and then you do your deepest vertical pocket or your 4-quadrant measurement.
What do you do? Which one do you prefer, the single deepest or 4-quadrant?
So when would you take a single deepest?
Oh,
Yeah, and then after 28 weeks, you do a 4-quadrant measurement. Yeah, unless it's twins. Twins, the whole pregnancy, you only do a single deepest vertical pocket. Yeah.
Mike told us any pregnancy, any trimester, first we need to check heartbeat if baby alive.
Oh yeah, I
If
mean,
just for yourself.
yes,
not for-
I personally, it can be part of your environment protocol. I take the heart rate in my heart protocol just because it's like I'm looking at the heart, I'm going to take the heart rate. But yes, you will obviously want to make sure you're dealing with a viable pregnancy. You want to make sure the baby is alive, the heart is beating. A lot of times for the patient, I'll just put the probe down and be like, that flicker is baby's heart beating. And they're like, okay. And then you just
Yeah,
kind of move on.
Got it.
So how you prefer it, if you want to include it in your environment picture, excellent. If you want to wait until it's in your heart picture, excellent. You know, it's kind of, for me, I feel like it's personal preference. But if you're doing an ultrasound to establish if the baby is viable, you're gonna do a heart rate. Okay.
If the baby died, we go to the doctor, tell him, and then
So in the situation, if you have a demise, you'll still do environment, and you still always want to measure the baby. So whether it's a crown to rump length, depending on if it's a first trimester fetal demise, or if you do biometry, the doctors always want to know at what point did the baby demise. Was it just now? Was it a week ago? And then you always want to put a color box over the heart to prove there's no pulsatile blood flow in there. You put the M mode over the heart to prove there's no heart rate. Then you are finished.
run to
Yeah,
the doctor.
you still have business to do. It's not just like no heartbeat, run. You still need to document some things before you exit, but it's not like a full, obviously, survey. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I'll put the protocol list up for you guys. Okay.